of foul words and misconduct is strictly prohibited. Each debater will be given 2 minutes to present his or her faction of opinions and gather data. After all the debaters have finished, we will have a rebuttal, in which case the battle will consume 5 minutes approximately. The supporters, which will also have a battle, will be given 5 minutes on each team to express their faction of gathered facts.
First of all, good morning everyone. Before I start, I have to ask, what is the purpose of teaching math? Well, according to the Department of Education, it is to advance knowledge in a level that is interesting and enjoyable. Nowadays, we face the reality of booming technology and how it changed our lives, and a calculator is one of them. According to Hub Pages, calculator is a handheld device that allows students to solve complicated problems quickly in an efficient manner. Additionally, it can reduce the problem to simpler tasks and allow students to devote more time in understanding the problems itself. If you were to ask to calculate 8,950 times 11,900 times 6,750, would you dare solve it in your mind, or would you grab a calculator and solve it? Let's go back to the sole definition of learning math, where it should be enjoyable and interesting. Why interesting? Some students may like math and some may not. In this sense, once math becomes not interesting, then it would demoralize the understanding and concentration of students, thus losing the sole purpose of learning math. According to a researcher, it is more important to memorize the concept of math with the help of a calculator rather than memorizing the digits themselves. Would you rather memorize the whole multiplication table instead of analyzing that multiplication is a repeated addition, specifically through the use of calculator? More than anything, using the calculator is much more time efficient than not using this device. According to a psychological research of teachers in Colorado, calculators also ensure safer and accurate results that boost students' confidence. Without the help of mathematical devices, students commit more mistakes, thus losing his or her performance and confidence in math.
Good morning to all. Let me ask you this. Have you ever tried using a calculator?
Yes.
Do you own a calculator, even just in your phone? Do you use it very often?
Yes.
Yes. Most of us here have calculators and are using the smartphones which have calculators. Calculators are very essential to man. It makes the work of teachers easier. We all know that our teachers are very smart and they can solve fast, but there are times that when the problem is too hard. But with the help of the calculator, it is easy as 1, 2, and 3. And accountants as well. They are the ones who keep the records of the bank, processes, and our bank accounts balance. And if they miscalculate in one's account and they will not use the calculator, then it will take plenty of time before the account will balance and you will be late for your next appointment. According to research, calculators can make one smarter by applying specific pressure and exercises, and many students in America have also ensured this process. Now let's go back to the students. I'm sure that everyone has some difficulty in solving mathematical problems. We use calculators to solve mathematical problems, which if we get a low score, of course we'll get a low grade and fail. And of course, if we fail, there will be no future. And most of the students are not highly inclined in math. And the students are mostly made up in our society. And if many students fail, there will be no future in our society. So, what I'm trying to say here is calculator can really affect the lives of many people. It can also affect the economy and of course our country.
Okay, good morning. Calculator is a tool not only to perform mathematical computations, but it can be a tool for learning mathematics. Despite the mix of harmful consequences resulting from their use, calculator is a good pedagogical in solving tool of great value. Studies about the role of calculators have been conducted
conducted. And one of the researchers stated that students using calculators have direct access to representations of mathematical ideas which are conceptually powerful and vital for learning. Students can now focus in understanding the mathematical concepts and not become distressed about computing the wrong answers with the aid of calculators. Indeed, calculators are crucial to help students to understand the mathematical concepts but not to be feared due to its broad computation. And I want to correct, and according to a research of correcting of the means of using calculators, myth number one, calculators are a crutch. They are used because students are too lazy to compute the answers on their own. They do the work for the student. There is almost no mathematical thinking involved in doing those computations. A real comprehension of mathematics comes as a result of understanding what the question is asking, knowing how to set up the problem, deciding which operations are appropriate, and determining whether or not the answer of it makes sense. You see, using calculators doesn't mean that you're lazy. It means that using calculators, it also requires deep mathematical thinking.
A pleasant morning to all. According to the research compiled by Heidi Pomerantz, mathematics today is a subject that is more important for all students to really understand and appreciate. The implementation of calculators and computer technology in mathematics curricula at every level of education is vital to the advancement of mathematical learning and teaching. Mathematics is not about rote computation, memorization, and endless drills or tedious manipulations. We all know that calculators help us in solving problems, specifically complicated ones. And one of the main advantages of using calculators is to, first of all, help students avoid boredom, therefore increasing their capacity to understand the subject. Would you agree that if math is too complicated, it would cause one's learning skills to improve? Secondly, teachers realize that the mathematical capacity of young pupils is not great. But knowing the formula, the processes, and using this device can help them comprehend and be confident enough in answering. As stated by Amy J. Hamilton, students who use calculators while learning mathematics reported more positive attitudes towards the subject than their non-calculator counterparts on surveys taken. The sole purpose of mathematics is to let the students know and understand the underlying principles of its vast topics, and calculator makes this aim possible. Thank you.
The advantages of having a calculator, this handheld device, is that it can solve mathematical equations in a flash. The only advantage of calculators is that the results are accurate and therefore reducing the burden of people and reducing the mistakes that people usually have when solving problems.
Good morning to each and everyone. Now, the members of our group have said the advantages of using calculators. Now, I will talk about the evolution of the devices used in mathematical and numerical aspects. From tally sticks in ancient Egypt, evolving to abacuses in the ancient Chinese era. Different types of people and different nationalities use these devices for numerical and mathematical aspects. How did we know the exact measurement of figures and the exact numbers to be placed in formulas? Yes, right. We used calculators, we used other devices. And in the ancient times, they used rulers and other calculating devices. This is just a mere concept of evolution. Calculators, as the subject of our debate today, are just seemingly one of those devices. It is just a product of change and evolution. Like rulers, abacuses, calculators are just an innovative product of those ancient devices. So, as what they have said, calculators are very useful nowadays. Don't you have your own calculators? I remember in grade 8 that we were required calculators for our mathematics aid. So, calculators, as we say, don't think. We are the ones who operate them. They are just devices. And people think. We're not saying that calculators only do the work and make us lazy. We are also thinking on how to press the buttons and how to do such commands in this device. Thank you.
Good morning to all. With the advent of smartphones, many of us now carry calculators in our pockets wherever we go. However, that doesn't mean students should rely on calculators to do all their mathematical thinking, and it certainly doesn't excuse them from learning basic number facts. Calculators take away from the necessity for a student to know the basics. Furthermore, a student who relies on a calculator for simple equations will not remember the solution after he writes it down on the homework page. Relying on a calculator results in a child being unable to progress in math due to the lack of fluency and recall of facts. As stated, being able to record an answer on a sheet is simple enough, but understanding the underlying concepts behind the equation show true understanding and mastery of mathematical subject. Calculators really should only be used in school after students have met certain criteria. Many students are scared of big numbers, but using a calculator won't help them overcome their anxiety. On the other hand, being able to quickly calculate numbers can be impressive during job interviews and continue to come in handy throughout life. Lastly, if the use of this handheld device is not stopped in the near future, we might lack quality scientists with great computational skills. There must be rules and guidelines by the top educational institutions to make sure that students are not deprived of their own skills. That would be all.
Good morning, everyone. We all knew that calculators are beneficial for students to avoid some errors in solving problems regarding to physics and mathematics. But as time goes by, students are tolerating the work of a calculator. Even the multiplication problem, they refer this to a calculator. Then what would possibly happen if the bigger mathematical problem will require a solution or a formula? Students these days are having a hard time solving mathematical problems without calculator because they used to solve all of the problems using calculators all of the time. In addition, we all knew that in the future, we are able to use the formulas we have learned from our lessons for our everyday life. And not all the time, we have our calculators. So it's better to practice solving manually than to tolerate yourselves doing an effortless habit. And in addition for that, solving can exercise your brain through thinking deeply. What do you want? An easier life that your brain have nothing to eat? Or a step-by-step procedure that requires a lot of time, work, and other hassle moves, but you learn a lot and sharpens your brain?
The breakthrough of technology has surely brought the humanity to a different level. New products to reduce the burden of work have been made all around the world. But have you ever thought of the bad effects this may bring to men? Everyone, this morning we stand on the negative side in regards to the use of scientific calculator in solving mathematical equations. First reason, no skill building. Calculators take away the necessity for a student to know the basics. Based on studies, a student who relies on the calculator for equations will not remember the solutions after he writes it down on the homework page. Relying on a calculator results in a child being unable to progress in math due to lack of fluency and recall of facts. Second reason, not economical. Do you know how much an average cycle costs? 800 to 1,000 pesos. Let's take examples from Casual FX99 IES plus SR. It generally costs 1,030 pesos in the market. How about another brand?
As 99, 1CM scientific calculator costs 1,000 pesos.
C. The use of cycle requires lots of money. Those with larger incomes cannot benefit from this scientific device. If we stick to the traditional way of solving, it would not even cost a single peso. Third reason, it is not long-lasting. Calculators requires batteries in order to operate, which is a recurring cost as far as the electronic devices are concerned. What if your calculator runs out of power? Or what if it is lost? Then you would buy another one? It is better to stick to the traditional way of solving. That is more long-lasting.
So, good morning everyone. May I start in a situation? One day last year, we are having our test in math. And my seatmate questioned me, Mara, detention. Yes, a simple problem, but even a 14-year-old student can answer mentally. This situation may increase and many students will have this kind of mental ability if we continue on using scientific calculators or mainly calculators. Yes, I agree. Calculators have benefits. But I totally disagree on using calculators in school by young students, especially on examinations. Why? First of all, we are not fans of reading 100-page manual of any appliances we newly purchased. And because of this, we students and pupils could make mistakes like pressing wrong buttons, forgetting to change the mode, incorrectly rounding the values, and wrong methods of evaluating the factor. And this could lead to the incorrect and non-reliable answers. Secondly, calculators cost a bunch. Why not use our own brains, which are given to us for free? Using calculators may also reduce our brain's capacity on mental thinking. This would really affect the new generations of engineers, cooks, fashion designers, and even scientists. Relying to calculators is truly not the choice. What if one day you left your calculator at home and you don't know how to solve the equations in longhand? What will happen to you? The best way of learning is not only memorizing, but to understand and analyze. How could you understand basic math methods using calculator? And how could you uncover hidden techniques when you use calculator?
So good morning everyone. Today I'm going to give my opinion about the disadvantages of using a scientific calculator. First, we should not always rely on the things around us. Mathematics is for the brain. It is a keen subject for the witty and clever ones. Therefore, why do we need a scientific calculator when we can solve it manually? It takes time? Of course yes. But you will learn. You will be independent enough to solve your own problem. It can hone one's knowledge and skills. It can help an individual to think, analyze, and learn without using the things around him. Mathematics can be survived even if there's no scientific calculator. Yes, calculator just make an individual lazy. Pressing the button is just a piece of cake, just like what Remo said. It is just as easy as 1, 2, 3. Let's see. What if your calculator was left at home and you don't know what to do? You just sit there hoping for a miracle. Life is not like that. Mathematics is not like that. A calculator costs an arm and a leg. Why not just save that money instead of buying one? Remember, we are on the science, technology, and engineering curriculum. It is just normal for us not to use a calculator. Are we afraid? Remember, nothing in this world will stay forever. According to some students in the United States, mathematics is not a burden. You don't have to be a genius for it. It just simply requires a willing mind and a witty head. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ma'am, sir, and to our honored
introduce to you our side as the anti-use of scientific calculator during solving problems. Yes, calculator is a product of modern technology operations and formulas due to the usage of calculators. It introduces the basic skill of learning mathematics and the logical learning skills. One of the students of California, Matt Duke Zemeckis, studied his co-students that uses calculators, that they are actually over-relying to it, that lead to no skill building and no learning concepts, that even solving 6 multiplied by 6 multiplied to 7 or 6 times 4 needs to be done through calculators. See, now tell us we aren't right, because this is the truth that's seen in reality. Earlier you said that you use calculators during exams during our grade 8 times. Did you even use it? I remembered one of my classmates said, I didn't even use my calculator or press the on button because the only thing he got is his brain. He solved the problems mentally. And now, it's true that one of my co-motivators said that you better stick to the traditional. The beneficiary side will now choose the representative.
So I am for the beneficiary side and I'm going to open the battle for this debate. So you said earlier that being a student, STE student, it is just normal for us not to use a calculator. You are an STE student, right? Do you use a calculator? Yes. No? Really? Honestly, you don't use calculator? Not even once in your life? We use calculator. And during the test, mathematical test, you are only given 1 hour for 50 items to answer those. And do you think that you can answer those just using your brain? Yes. For mathematics, for math wizards, yes. But what if, to most of us here, we are not capable of having that kind of brain to mentally solve that particular problem. Yes. I'm right?
How could you learn? How could you learn if you rely on calculators? How could you uncover the techniques, diba? How could you discover the shortcuts if you use calculator?
A calculator is simply a tool that helps us. Calculator does not do the thinking. It is us. It is just an aid to help us in solving those problems. But take note that calculators aren't the ones to make. Yes, we overrate the calculators.
But over-relying to calculators will decrease your mental
Very hard to be smart, you know the techniques, but though he cannot still compute those
Problems.
he cannot compute those formula in his head. Though yes, he is very smart, but he still needs a calculator to excel his mind. For example, you use a calculator to sharpen your mind, because it's like a calculator is a medium to make your brain sharpen. You can memorize the stat. For example, 6 times 6, you can memorize it. So yeah.
You know, calculators are only used in certain criteria. If you can solve 6 times 5,999, something like that, it is possible. But how can you solve a physics problem if you can translate it mathematically?
So let's widen our perspective. Let's not base our minds on our classroom basis now. So let's go to different industries. Let's go to the banks. Let's go to other factories. Would you rely on your mind in solving millions of money? Would you rely on your mind? Yes or no?
Yes or no? Yes. Calculator, for me, calculator is a product of a human mind, of a human. So, that millions, billions, trillions of different equations, addition, subtraction. You could solve that using your head. And we could use pen and paper instead of scientific calculator. Diba? Yes?
Yes.
You said earlier that calculator takes away the necessity to know the basics. But don't you agree that as a student and with the teachers, don't you agree that they teach us first the basics? Yes. They teach us the basics, then why are you saying that they take away the necessity of the basics?
So, pleasant morning, guys. So, calculators are needed in our lives. Whether you like it or not, admit it that calculators will always be a part of your life. We are not saying that calculators are always needed, but it is needed when we need to perform hard mathematical tasks. In the beginning, if people were that smart to solve hard math equations, then why did technology invented a calculator, right? Calculators allow students to solve complicated problems quickly and in an efficient manner. It can reduce the problems to simpler tasks and allows the student to devote more time in understanding the problem. For example, in an exam, there is a mathematical equation that is very, very hard. Of course, you can solve it, but it will consume lots of your time. But with a calculator, you can just solve it. I mean, time is gold, everyone. Another example is a problem child, or a special child, or even a normal child that cannot cope up with the math equations, is having a hard time in solving math problems. And even if a teacher teaches the child, if the teacher is also having a hard time teaching the child, but with a calculator, that special child, or a normal child, or even a problem child that cannot cope up with math problems, can solve math easily due to because of calculator. Of course, without calculators too, we can also commit mistakes. Thus, we can get into arguments and a lot more. And with calculator, we cannot create a mistake. Calculators also, when we use a calculator, we don't have to go back and check because they are reliable. Example is when you solve right, when you solve, it will take you a long time to solve it, and then you will create a mistake. Once you create a mistake, you will go back from the top. Whereas in a calculator, you can just type it and then boom, there the answer is right there. Great mathematicians long before solved math equations, and in their years, they spent solving math problems. And then, what is the purpose of a great mathematician from long before if calculators were not invented? I mean, even great mathematicians from long before, they are slowly starting to develop a device so that when we solve mathematical equations, it can be easier for us.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, we all know that all of us nowadays are using calculators. But let me ask you, what if the mathematical problem given to you will require you to use calculator? What will you do? Unlike when you learn to solve manually or learning step by step. What if you press the wrong button when solving with a scientific calculator? Be not like them. Use your brain. Be independent. Learn. Be practical. Save your money instead of buying scientific calculator. Use what a nerd God gave you. Discover your skills. Don't over-rely on calculators. What is the use of your brain if you keep on relying on the scientific calculator? We are not saying that you don't use calculator, but try, just try, to solve manually. I know we can solve simple problems, and from simple problems, we can
congratulations. No? First of all, I congratulate this group, no? Especially to your subject teacher who really initiated this activity, this debate. No? Now, its group are very convincing. You give me a very convincing reason. Now, whether it is a pro or cons. No? So, though it is good to memorize, but I think there's really a need, no? Especially that you are still starting, need for you to have even a very small copy only, no? For you to have a guide. All of you are very witty, I know. So it is understandable also that each one of you really prepared for this